CTSM Garage, and this episode will talk about CTS-V1 bumper repairs and other plastic panels modifications and repair, reinforcement, etc. This is something I don't see any discussion really about, so I thought I could post some content on this. We're looking at the front bumper of my 2007 CTS-V, and we're looking at the inside, so it's a little bit ugly and dirty, but the reason why I took it off is, first, there's a lot of repairs and reinforcements that I wanted to do for a long while, and I thought I'd take advantage of this winter period to do that. Secondly, I'm repainting it before I drive it again this season, so a perfect opportunity to do some repairs. So what are the things that I'm doing to it? First of all, I think we're all very familiar with the tabs which hold the wheel well cover to the front bumper. Those tabs are some of the flimsiest tabs I've seen on this car, or maybe any other car. They are so thin and weak, and from the previous owner, most of these were broken. I had to hold mine with cable ties, and I was just not happy about it. It was a very cheap way of doing this, and I thought, you know what, whenever I take this bumper off for repaint, I'm gonna address this properly. So if we look here, we have the original tab, and I've repaired it to restore its original shape, but I've added a significant reinforcement below it. Now this is an ABS plastic reinforcement, and we could take a closer look here, and this is a very strong, you can't really bend this, a very strong bond there. So the reason why it holds it very well is, first of all, this reinforcement is glued with a strong automotive glue to the bumper, and it's also stapled in and glued on top of that. I mean, this thing is going nowhere. Very happy with how this came out, and I did this to all of them, absolutely all 6 of them. They are very, very sturdy, and I really doubt we could ever see these breaking under normal conditions. So this idea came to me when I was looking at the inner wheel fender cover from one of my family cars, and it had come off and got broken and got ran over, so I replaced it. But I had this extra piece of ABS, and while I was considering throwing it in the garbage, I really like this material. This came from 2017 Buick Regal 2.0 Turbo, and I thought, you know what, maybe if I cut sections off of it, I can bend them into shape and cut them to act as reinforcement here. And you know what, this has worked fantastic. Very strong material, yet it's flexible and, you know, can resist movement. So it's not hard to the point that it would snap, but yet again, it's not so flimsy that it would not be able to support the push pins and other stresses that the vehicle would experience. So it was a great way to utilize old plastic panels from other vehicles. So that's what I did, and I'm really happy with the result. I'm gonna give you a closer look at them. The reason why you see numbers on these is because I matched them to every single tab to make sure that it's the perfect one for it, and the hole placement was perfect. As you can see here, there is no way the pin wouldn't go in perfectly in there. So really happy with that result, and I think this is the way to move forward. And even if you're missing the tab completely, you could still at least bond it on the inside. Now it's a little bit stronger when you have a portion of the tab or some of the tab or anything that is bonded to this exterior surface, but the way I did it here, even if you didn't have that, you can have something that is stronger than what the OEM provided us with. So I'm very happy about this. It came out really good. So now what else did I do? Where the top grill mounts, I had again, the way I received the car from the previous owner, this tab was broken. and this tab was half broken, and this one was hanging on by a thread. Now you can't really move this, and this one as well. This is probably the weakest one because it's only held by one inner one, but still, I mean, weak is relatively speaking compared to these. But I mean, this is stronger than the OEM manufactured way. So, very happy about this. You can see here, here's the one that has completely a missing tab. Here's one that has been, again, same story. It's been glued, stapled, and glued again. And yeah, it's going nowhere. This is the only OEM tab that was kind of in okay condition, but I reinforced it with some glue from the back just in case. I didn't see a reason to operate more on it. And beyond these, we have where the cosmetic rubber air dam hooks up to the front bumper. I've had quite a few of these that were cracked, and I said, you know what, this is also a good opportunity to fix them. So as you can see, as I move in a little bit closer, you can see a mesh. So I plastic welded them with mesh to give them support. Then I applied some adhesive to give them more reinforcement, and then I said, you know what, I'm going over all of these and giving them some reinforcement. I don't really want to take this bumper off again for something like this. And I ended up applying adhesive on the backside of the push pins just in case. And here I had a nasty crack that was all the way across, so I stapled that, and I was able to weld that as well in. So now it's going nowhere. You can't really open this up, so I'm pretty happy about that. If you move in closer to where the turn signal fog light combo attaches to the vehicle, you'll see that I've attached basically what looks like grommets, but it's really old oil drain plugs from my car that I've saved for purposes like this. I really didn't like the idea that the bracket of the fog light, the metal bracket, attaches directly to the plastic. I think it causes wear, you know, and it's too much stress. So I thought it would be a good idea if I actually glue in a rubber surface for the light to attach to, and I think this is great. It works pretty good. And on the top side where the fog light attaches, I added a piece of 3M double-sided adhesive, but only exposed adhesive on one side, and it just provides a slight bit of cushion for the fog light assembly. So just taking some precautions so that this bumper lasts much longer than it would have. So, and again, it's getting painted, so might as well take advantage of that opportunity while it's out to do all these fixes. And I've test fitted the fog light here and it works pretty good. And then we'll see what I did on the other side. Well, on the other side, I had damage from the previous owner. The holes were butchered on quite a few of these that hold the bottom engine cover. So I said, you know what? I made my own washers that have special cuts in them, and I plastic welded them in, and I think it came out great. This is the right size for the push pins that I'm using, and it is going nowhere. This is pretty sturdy, and a few of them were messed up, and I just ended up doing all of them. They're on the same way. I think this is a very good solution for repairing through holes in the plastic panel. I didn't exactly see anybody else doing this, but that's what I came up with while I was in the garage. I first started making like a few cuts on the washers, but then I decided, you know what, it's much stronger to add double the amount of cuts. And yeah, that works great. And where the screws attach the bumpers, I did a slight repair there, and I added some adhesive to give it some reinforcement, because that area does see quite a bit of pressure as that fog light is shaking up and down. So that basically sums it up of what I've done to the bumper, and I think now it should be ready to be painted. So we'll move on to other panels. Well, here's another panel I've wanted to address for a while. That would be the bottom engine cover on the V1. And there's, I wouldn't say much flaws in the way GM has it mounted, but I think an important panel like this, I would feel way more at ease when it's held on by actual metal fasteners. The reason being is that I remember last year I was driving on the highway going about like 80 miles an hour. All of a sudden I was hearing this immense scraping noise, and I really had to stop on the emergency lane, take a look. And it turns out that uh, the plastic fastener which goes here in the rear, which is the only one in the rear that holds it to the car, it goes into the engine cradle. There's a little hole there where the plastic pushpin goes in, and so that one failed, and so as a result the bottom engine cover tilted down at an angle, scraping this side, causing quite a bit of damage to it. And luckily I had a cable tie on hand, so I crawled under the car and was able to tie it up temporarily until I got home. And it got me thinking, there's got to be a better way to mount this, and I think I've come up with that way. So you notice the first thing is I went down below the car where the radiator support is. You will notice two holes for plastic pushpins there. So what I ended up doing is I threaded them to M10 threads. That was the closest size that made sense to go in there, because the hole is already pretty big. And I did M10 by 1.5. Now in retrospect, I should have done M10 by 1.25, given how little space you have to thread. But lesson learned, it is done in M10 by 1.5 right now. It works. But if you're doing it yourself, I would suggest 1.25, because you want the finer pitch in that smaller area. That's neither here or there. So this is an M10 bolt, and I've added a big fender washer to it, which I welded it onto the base of it to distribute the force as much as possible. And I've added a neoprene washer to it that's been glued in. And so this will allow the bottom engine cover to be bolted up to the radiator support. There's an M10 over here, and there's another M10 over here. Don't mind this repair that I've done here. That's a different story. You're not going to see that on your car, but you can pretend that doesn't exist. They'll both look like this, and you'll add an M10 bolt with a wide fender washer. Actually, this is, I believe, from Home Depot. It's an ALC washer, if you're curious. ALC. And this is just a standard 10.9 fastener. And then basically this will allow the bottom engine cover to bolt up to the radiator support. And to make things even better, I've added another bolt. This would be M8 by 1.25. And I forgot the size of the washer, but you can judge accordingly. And I've added the neoprene insulator there. And the reason why I'm making those washers as big as possible, obviously this is a welded washer, and adding some insulation, is because I want to save the plastic some stress. You can see as these cars age, these plastics tend to crack due to the stresses they receive. And I thought about it, and I was like, why don't I just isolate some of those vibrations a bit? And I think this works great. You could see it here. big washer, an insulator, and same story here, big washer and insulator. And I've done it actually also on the other side. I forgot to add a big insulator here, but that's next. I used again with useful old oil drain plugs. I've added one here and I've added one here. Now this will allow the bumper to attach through this washer and or this sorry this seal, this old seal, but you know it's a washer from now on. And so it will be from one end, it will be pressed on by this rubber washer, and from this side it will be pressed on with one as well. So it will decrease the vibrations and harshness that this engine cover receives. This is an extra hole that I've added. I mounted the engine cover, the bottom engine cover, to the vehicle with this new scheme, and then finally, once all these bolts were in and it was lined up, I drilled an M8 by 1.25 bolt hole and threaded it to that spec. And same story with the original hole. So now I have an M8 by 1.25 bolt. I think these are like 25 millimeter long, if I'm not mistaken. And here's one that goes on the other side. So I'm going to flip this engine cover so we can see it from the other side better. So with this engine cover flipped over, now we can see a little bit better how it's going to be mounted onto the vehicle. That's the view you're going to see. And we can see a little bit of the inspiration of why I wanted to use isolators. The first time I used just the bolt with a washer and tightened it up, I noticed that it left a nice scoring mark there. So you can see that witness mark of the washer, and it did not sit well with me. And it will work probably for a very long period of time, but this tells me that's going to stress that area, and the plastic at some point will fail there. So we'll go back to square one pretty quickly. So I decided that I'll just use insulators on there, so it's going to be nice and smooth with no sharp edges to come to the plastic. And same story here. There you go. So you can imagine we're under the vehicle right now mounting it up, and this bigger M8 bolt is going to go into this OEM hole, and this other M8 bolt is going to go into this extra hole which I've added. And you can see here the damage that I repaired from the incident when the bottom engine cover scraped on the ground. This was completely gone almost. Yeah, you can imagine the abrasion that would happen. So what I did is I welded in a mesh and added some filler, and it is very strong now. It is very good. You can barely tell from distance. So that's been repaired, and I think this is gonna be way better than it used to be. You know, and whenever I need to take the bottom engine cover, then all I have to do is, you know, after I release the push pins on the front, I don't have to deal with 4 more push pins here. And or if I am removing the front bumper, if I remove those push pins, I could feel pretty secure with having 4 metal fasteners still holding it down. I don't have to remove it. So I think, yeah, this works pretty good.
And I've just finished installing the bottom engine cover. There's that M10 bolt, and then the center M8, and another M8 over here, and then finally that last M10 over there. And this is really solid. You can't even shake the bottom engine cover. This is 100 times better than how this was before. Before you could shake this with all the plastic push pins pushing it, and probably if something hits this cover, the pins would fail, and then the cover would scrape on the ground like we saw here, the previous damage. But now I really like this. I had to make some final adjustments to line up the holes for the pins. Forgot to mention that the bumper got painted, so that's why you can barely see the washers anymore. But I'm really happy with this, and this is gonna be way better than it was before. So I hope you guys like the idea, and if you feel like doing the same, let me know if you like it. And I think this is a good alternative to how it was before. So give it a shot, see what you think.
And now we're looking at the driver's side inner wheel fender cover. This is the front portion, the one that receives the cooling for the brake, and of course you have the rear one. I ended up replacing this one because mine was badly damaged. We could see here I've done a repair on the inside here, or the outside, however you want to look at it, of the front inner fender inner wheel fender cover. It was exhibiting a nice crack, and it needed a lot of filling, so some stapling and adhesive really made it pretty strong. I could have made it look nicer, but it doesn't matter. Once you put in the bumper, you'll really not notice this much. And I decided to reinforce some of these holes with some adhesive just for safety's sake. And the repair was a little bit more major on this end. I ran out of my favorite type of staple, so I had to get creative a little bit, but it works. And I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna make a little adhesive ladder there just to give it some structure and prevent other sections from cracking too. The other side was way more severe, so we'll take a look at that one. Yeah, the passenger side had a major crack, and I had temporarily fixed it a long time ago when I bought, but I was able to take my time this time with a big mesh repair. You can see some of the exposed mesh here, and some plastic welding, and then I gave it a covering with a good cover of adhesive, so this thing is very sturdy now. Won't be giving me any trouble in the future. And I kind of reinforced the holes there with some adhesive. I think it came out pretty good.